Welcome back to Nothing But the Truth. I'm Trudy Stern. We are living through some of the most challenging times in recent history. Across the globe, wars rage on. The brutal conflict between Russia and Ukraine drags into yet another year, while in the Middle East, Israel continues its fight against Hamas and to get the hostages back. These are not isolated battles. They are part of a larger contest between freedom and tyranny, between those who value life and those who seek destruction. Here at home, President Trump is working to bring an end to these wars, yet he faces relentless hyperpartisanship that makes every step forward a battle of its own. It is in this fraught and urgent moment that clarity, leadership, and courage are needed more than ever. That is why I'm so honored to welcome back to this program Congresswoman Claudia Tenney. Representing New York's 24th District, Claudia is one of the most principled and courageous voices in Washington. She serves on the important House Intelligence Committee, where she plays a direct role in safeguarding our national security at a time of unprecedented global threats. She's been a steadfast leader on pro-Israel issues, authoring landmark legislation to formally recognize the West Bank by its biblical and rightful name, Judea and Samaria. Claudia has also been a staunch opponent of the BDS movement, standing firmly against those who seek to delegitimize Israel on the world stage. Most importantly, Congresswoman Tenney has just returned from Israel, where she saw firsthand what is happening on the ground at this critical moment. I'm very excited to hear about her trip and her impressions, and I know our listeners will benefit from her insights also. Claudia is not only a true champion for Israel and the Jewish people, but also a great friend, and it is a privilege to have her here with us today. Welcome back to Nothing But the Truth, my dear friend, Congresswoman Claudia Tenney. Welcome back.
Well, thank you so much, Trudy. Thank you for the kind words. It's been an incredible number of months here under President Trump, and then I just continue to have one incredible day after another with the experiences that I'm able to have as a member of this district and being able to do some unique travel. So, as you said, I just got back from Israel, and my third trip. I was there for almost 10 days, and each trip is more incredible than the one before. This one it was so incredible on so many levels, and I think it's important that we talk about some of the really amazing things that we did that happened when we were there.
Would love to. Absolutely would love to. 10 days is a very long time. That a usual trip for a congressional trip?
My first trip, I think, was about a week. My second trip was a week. I feel like I'm just scratching the surface. There's so much there. And it's so important on so many, the Christian level, the Jewish level, the interaction that we have. It's just so much happening in the Holy Land. And now things are, obviously we have this terrible war in Gaza that's happening. October 7th happened, which was a horrific, atrocities. You have all these, you know, widespread lies about what's going on in Israel, and just an unfair accusation with the Israeli government trying to fight for its survival, actually fighting the war for Western civilization, not just its own survival. Everyone knows that when you look at Hamas and these terrorists, look, Israel is the little Satan and the United States is the big Satan, all sponsored by Iran. Your audience knows that, but it's hard to get the truth out because the terrorists and Hamas and Iran, have very strong networks on social media. They have a lot of the mainstream media that props up these falsehoods. They have members of certain parliaments and governments around the world that support these falsehoods and perpetrate them, make policy based on misinformation and bold-faced lies about what's really going on in Israel. And we have some real fighters out there. You have President Trump, number one, who established the Abraham Accords, which were historic and changed the whole world, the whole focus and the way we look at what could possibly be peace and prosperity in the Middle East. You have Governor Huckabee, who isn't afraid to call it what it is. Our former ambassador, Ambassador Friedman, was phenomenal. He's still an amazing voice that's out there fighting the fight, telling the truth courageously every day. And so it's really inspiring in a lot of ways, but it's tragic in so many ways when we've seen what's happened. But there is, to me, I feel like there's a light at the end of the tunnel after this an incredible trip that I just returned from.
Why do you feel that way? What was the optimism? Why?
Well, I went with the U.S. Israel Education Association. We did a lot of holy sites for the Christian faith, but we also just met with whoever we could get our hands on, whoever would meet with us. We went to Judea and Samaria. You mentioned, I started a bill on calling it its rightful name, but I also started a Friends of Judea and Samaria caucus where I have a number of members of Congress, and we're trying to bring that sort of worldwide and grab as many members of parliament one by one and get people to understand the truth about the homeland and the true history of that region and being the Jewish homeland. And so we met with the Yesha Council, that's the Judea and Samaria Council. It's a group of all kinds of people who are business owners and different entities within the so-called Green Line Judea and Samaria area. Met with them, spent a day with them, planted some trees in that region. That day, we were joined by Ambassador Mike Huckabee and his wife Janet. Also, Sarah Huckabee Sanders and her husband Brian were with us. And then that evening, we had a huge lunch with leaders, Israel Gantz, all these great leaders from that whole region who are trying to bring peace, prosperity, and friendship between this whole region. And then that night we had dinner with, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and many of his team. We basically met with just about everyone that's in his cabinet at one point or another, either in person or by phone. And it was just incredible to see the strides that are being made, the courage of the Israeli people, the courage of Netanyahu and so many, and what we're trying to accomplish there. But I was just telling you before we jumped into this, one of the most fascinating uh, actual meetings we had a group of Arab sheikhs within Hebron region and within the Green Line in the Judea-Samaria area come and talk to us about wanting to create and join the Abraham Accords, wanting a state of Israel, a one-state solution with Israel sovereignty, and they having their own tribal identity, their own family identity in an Emirates form of quasi-sovereignty within the state of Israel, with the protection of Israel, with Israeli citizenship, but also getting the prosperity and the model that is used at where the successful Arab states are doing well. They're prospering, they're working with their neighbors, they don't discriminate against people because of their Christianity or their Judaism. And it was fascinating. And every one of them condemned the Palestinian Authority and use such terms as crook, organized crime, criminals, and the way that they're being treated and preventing them and their people from working with their neighbors, whether they're Jewish or Christian, mostly Jewish neighbors, and working with the Israeli government for protection and getting peace and prosperity. It was really just absolutely incredible.
Were they afraid to speak out? Like, will they be targeted now by the Palestinian Authority? Are they fearful for themselves, for their lives?
Well, absolutely. They came to us with security. It was tough to come over the Green Line when they met with us. Jake Al Jabari, he is the main sheikh that's leading this. He actually wrote an article in the Wall Street Journal. His life is being threatened for moving the paradigm shift away from let me, just for lack of a better term, I hope that no one is too upset by this, but I call it the Palestinian industrial complex, the narrative of the two-state solution that is being pushed to divide Israel, to divide the situation that has not worked. And now they're saying we would like to see the one-state solution where we exist and join the Abraham Accords as an emirate, but also maintain their Israeli citizenship. So it's sort of a quasi-sovereignty. But yes, they want security. That was their main ask of us. And they also want to have a chance for peace. They want to work with prosperous people. They want to bring jobs for their children and their families and bring, get away from the BDS movement, which also hurts them. They want to have, their own commerce. They want to have their own ability to have the technology that the rest of Israel gets, which they don't because of, the harsh hand of the Palestinian Authority. And it's an idea that is gaining popularity. And I applaud Sheikh Al Jabari for the courage in coming out and actually taking this position away from the paradigm, away from the narrative, and actually looking at this could work. And we think it's possible. I know there's a lot of pieces of the puzzle to put together, and a lot to look at in order to come to, something that would be workable. But this is where we start, and I think I have to say it all goes back to President Trump coming up with the Abraham Accords idea. So many people like that model, and they want that model. They want peace. They want prosperity. They're tired of war. They're tired of the animosity. They're tired of the terrorists and the proxy groups coming in from Iran. They don't like Hamas. They don't want their children to be turned into Hamas, acolytes and murdering and killing people, in a bastardized way against their own religion. So it's fascinating. It was amazing. It was just amazing meeting with them.
Did you also meet with members of the Druze community?
Yes, we went to the Golan Heights. We stood right up, up and took a look and kind of looked at the scenario. We met with some of the think tanks, some IDF members, some other people that are not IDF related, but just people who are studying this region. And we asked if we could have a meeting with the Druze members who've been slaughtered in southern Syria, right on the border. And they came to meet with us. It was really fascinating. We met with them at the Sea of Galilee in that area. And they told us and described the horrific slaughter. They showed us a movie that was, reminiscent of October 7th with, the Syrian backed, we think Syrian army backed Israel jihadists coming in and decapitating, chopping heads off, burning babies alive, gunning people down on the street all over. These are all the Druze community. And a lot of it was, brushed off. We asked them, some of the news accounts coming from Golani and the Syrian government said, oh, these are just, this is the Bedouins. And the Druze insisted that these were not the Bedouins. This is what they think are jihadists. And there are a lot of jihadists within the Golani government. They're very worried about Turkey's influence. They're worried about the influence of Qatar. They're worried about, the people that are behind Golani. They described him as a guy that was al-Baghdadi's partner, and he was a jihadist himself. And they're very concerned about that, and they're concerned about their safety. And they were looking to us and to talk to President Trump about, their issues and how President Trump are now becoming our peacemaker in chief can help them live again a peaceful and prosperous life with their families, with their unique lifestyle. They described the Alawites, another minority group that is also being slaughtered in that region. It was just, really interesting to get to hear from them ourselves, one on one. There was no security there other than their security. We were meeting there not, as a, not any intelligence, skiff. It was just them being honest and open with us. And it was really important work and things that they're doing to really try to, I mean, when you see people that are on the ground that are victims, crying for peace and prosperity, and telling us this model that we're trying to force to happen for the last several decades isn't working, this is really serious. And they're looking to the leadership of someone like President Trump to help us out of this mess, because he has the courage and the leadership to bring people together and to force people to come up with solutions, and instead of just talking about the problem nonstop.
So did you also go down south to the Gaza area?
Yes, we went to the kibbutz Afra. I can't think of the whole name of the Afra kibbutz where uh, Keith and Avivi
Was
Siegel had lived.
near
We
near
Go
Oz?
ahead. Yeah, what was the name?
Kibbutz near Oz?
Yeah, I can't. I'm sorry, like sometimes I got a bit of a sore throat too, but went down there. We went to, and that's right on the border, by the razor wire, right on the edge of Gaza. We went through the horrific conditions there, and a young IDF soldier, she explained to us everything that was there, and they basically, it's been abandoned. I think 60 plus people were slaughtered there. Young people, especially in the new generation area of the kibbutz. It was really horrific to see. We also met with an IDF soldier in the Kogat who are dealing with the humanitarian aid. They showed us a number of charts that showed that 80 to 90% of the aid that is coming from all over the world, trying to get to Gaza, is being taken by Hamas and often at gunpoint and violently, and being used to sell back. And the estimates are that it's nearly a $500 million last year alone that Hamas is profiting off of this humanitarian aid. And yet the Israeli government continues to be blamed for it when they're trying to do their best to get that aid to the people in a very dangerous situation. So the numbers don't lie; they're there. It was really tragic to see this situation, and yet the people in Gaza are still, I would, they described, it's not my words, but they said they're pretty much brainwashed against Israel, but they want the food and they want the supplies. But many of them have come to realize that it's Hamas that is preventing them from getting their aid. It is not. It is not the Israeli government.
Wow, that's unbelievable that you were able to see that with your own eyes and to speak to somebody who really knows.
Yeah, and Huckabee, and they had been in there just days, the day or 2 days before we were there to go through to see what was really happening on the ground. We didn't actually go into Gaza properly, but while we were there, you could hear the sounds of gunfire going off, and you could hear the sounds of war in the background, which was frightening, and just I felt so terrible for the people that were in that kibbutz and also the business owners that are in that region. We also went to the Nova Film Festival site, and we met with a survivor of the site. We went to the memorials and prayed at the memorials for so many people that were killed at the Nova site, including a beautiful young woman who was actually uh, Argentinian, and she lost her boyfriend, Nanani, and she described this horrific scene of where they walked out and they heard the gunfire, they heard the sirens, they said, "Hey, we're in Israel." They didn't really take it that seriously, and they went into a shelter off the side of a road near the Nova Festival, and everybody was slaughtered in that with bombs and then gunfire, except for this young woman, and one other person got out of it alive and miraculously. It was a horrific story that she told us. So, it's hard to believe these things are happening in the modern era, but I have to tell you, just the hope I received from those Arab sheikhs and also from the Druze about, look, we've had enough war, we've had enough killing, we need the truth, we need to have this, we need to have peace, we need to have prosperity, we want to work with our neighbors. We also saw, a really moving video from I think it was an Orthodox priest in the region begging for help to help with his Druze neighbors who they work with, who they have, they share, home with in their region, who they have, they do vigils with and pray together. So these are people that want peace, not the terrorists like Hamas funded by Iran. These are people that are in this region that are looking to us for leadership. And it was something I never got to see in my last two trips to Israel. Obviously, it was pre-October 7th. But I mean, we are really seeing an opportunity, I think. The worst of the worst has happened. Maybe we can now find a way that people have just, I mean, people are at their wits' end.
You saw the resolve of the Israeli people also, and you got a chance to meet with lots of them. And were you able to meet with hostage families as well?
I've met with some hostage families in the US. We mostly met with IDF members who were in that area, who are handing the food out and are monitoring the safe distribution of the humanitarian aid. But we didn't technically meet with any hostages in this particular trip, but I've met with numerous hostages in the US. But uh, they are, or hostage families, I should say, or hostages that have survived. A lot of people are, obviously everybody is so concerned about the fate of the 50 that we know that are there, but we just don't know how many of them are alive, and they're estimating that 50 are not alive, which is horrific.
Well, I've seen in the news it says 20 are alive.
They're saying about 20, but they're starving. Those are the people really starving are the hostages. It's very difficult to get at them the way that they're situated in the tunnels. And I think people need to understand, I mean, Israel left Gaza with state-of-the-art architecture, everything you need to have a modern city. Billions and billions of dollars have come into Gaza from all over the world, and they used it to build tunnels, not to grow a prosperous city that would help the people of Gaza. And filled them with hatred and the population, the children, and it's a very tough situation. It's just a tough situation, but the heart of the Israeli people to want to continue to make sure that they keep their own people safe and the rest of the Israelis safe of everyone who is within the boundaries of all of Israel, regardless of their religious or ethnic allegiance. I mean, they are really trying to keep Gaza as stable as possible, but it is very difficult, with the money coming in and the disruption from Hamas. And now, I think President Trump is taking the right course right now. You can't have a ceasefire when we have hostages.
So
You know,
what do you think about this deal that is on the table right now?
Release the hostages. I mean, it's just the war is over when the hostages come out. And then we can talk about a ceasefire. I think Trump is right. I mean, you can't play this tiddlywinks game with these people. You have to play the tough game right now because too many lives have been lost. And I'll tell you one thing about President Trump. You've seen him negotiating. He doesn't like to see the loss of life. He doesn't like to see the thousands of people that are being killed in Ukraine every day. The ruthlessness of Vladimir Putin, which, by the way, he fully understands. I mean, the Democrat narrative out there that Trump is naive about Putin and rolling out the red carpet. Trump knows he's got to get this guy to stop killing, and that's what we're trying to do in Israel. And it's not that easy. These people. I mean, if you saw the horrific video that I saw of how they slaughtered the Druze, it was October 7th all over again. Complete disregard for humanity, burning children alive, um, chopping their head. I couldn't even look at it. It was like watching the October 7 video. I couldn't get through those either. And I had to look away. It was so horrific. And they're doing this to the Druze, who are Muslims. And they don't follow the jihadi line. And these are evil people on earth. And you can't, it's like Putin, you can't trust Putin. These people are not only just, you can't trust them, they're even more primitive and you can't even negotiate with them. And I think Trump is saying we're trying to negotiate with someone who's, going to turn around and chop your head off in 2 seconds.
So do you think that Israel will be able to make a deal with Hamas at this point? Coming back from Israel now at this moment.
Well, I mean, let's see. I haven't seen a whole lot of. I think that Israel needs to know that the United States and Trump and we are going to accept, we're not drawing lines in the sand and allowing them to step over them. There's a line in the sand. You release the hostages. You come to the table for peace, and you will get peace. If you don't do that, we're going to continue to put the pressure on in every way possible, economically, militarily. Obviously, we're not doing it. Israel's fighting this war, but we are providing the support in the background and obviously the moral support of America is critically important to Israel as well. And fighting against all these fronts where there's infiltration, whether it's the Irish government, which, different governments thinking about boycotting. There's a boycott potentially. They're looking at it. They haven't gone through with it yet of, the so-called West Bank, Judea and Samaria. Well, that hurts the Arab sheikhs in that region who are also trying to produce and work with their Jewish partners to come up with goods and technology and lead like the rest of Israel has. They want the prosperity that the rest of Israel has. They want the prosperity that they see in the Emirates, that are successful around them in the Middle East. They're tired of this war, this narrative of terrorism. It's just they've had it. And you can feel it in them. They want to work with us. One Arab sheikh, when we were in Hebron, we came out of his house and he's all security because the PA is trying to kill him too. Above his house as you come out, he has taken the Marine Commandant's challenge coin and enlarged it and put it on the outside of his house for goodwill and protection from the commandant of the U.S. Marine Corps. I mean, that just tells you what this man is about. He's a Muslim man who also took in a poor Jewish boy and raised him as his own son. And I mean, these are stories that people need to hear that don't get told by our news media. And an incredibly generous and kind man, and very much looking forward to meeting with us. Close with Heather Johnston from the USIE. I mean, it was incredible. USIEA. I always get it wrong. But, really incredible people that we're meeting.
That is such a great trip and great stories that you have and that you're going to share. I don't, I don't understand why our media is not sharing these stories. I mean, it's a war against the West. This is not, just a war against Israel. It's a war against the West, as you always.
Exactly. It is a war against Western civilization. It's a war against our way of life, the Judeo-Christian ethic, which I think is can be universal. That's what our Constitution is based on. Self-reliance, self-governance, freedom. Security is why we created the federal government, but we still have these important principles that were the foundational principles of our country. Putting the Bill of Rights together to balance the critical tenets of freedom, but also security and balancing that. And that's where, this is the same types of things you're seeing. And we know it works for our country. It may not work perfectly in the Arab world, which is why this Emirates idea that I talked about at the top of the podcast, is a really interesting and novel concept, an Abraham Accord type of relationship with the Israelis and with their Arab neighbors who have a different way of life and a different family and cultural setup.
So, can I bring us back to the United States, to New York, for just 1 second?
Yes, certainly.
Um, Talk about an attack on our values and our systems. We're looking at a potential Mayor Mamdani here in New York. How do you feel about that? And do you think that's going to happen? What's your thoughts?
I think it's a catastrophe. I think he is a total phony. I think he's a snake oil salesman. He's a hardened Marxist. He's trying to cover that up now. He's a hardened anti-Semite, and he can try to hide behind. He never said the global intifada. There's plenty on him that shows he's an anti-Semitic person, and has deep values in that way. That is, to me, just totally dangerous for all of us. He now says he's gonna, we're gonna have free everything. He sounds like a Bernie Sanders or an AOC. Doesn't accept our, he's openly saying he's a Democrat Socialist of America. Well, the DSA those are Marxist derivatives. That's all it is. It's just, putting Democratic on the top of it is kind of like putting, frosting on a poop. It's still terrible. And it's not, I mean, it's a terrible philosophy. It hasn't worked. It's never worked. It's not going to work in New York. And I worry because New York City is the largest city in our country. It's also such an important city for the economy, and the culture and the state of New York. And it could really bring down the state because he will give power to the Democratic Socialists in the Albany legislature, around the state, and those that are emerging, that this is okay.
Wow, unbelievable. So you actually nominated President Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. Do you
I
think he?
did. Well, I actually, the first time I nominated him was in January of 2024 when the nominations were open. You only get like so many words. It's very, very short, and only certain people, it's limited who can nominate. Members of Congress can nominate. I nominated President Trump because of the historic Abraham Accords, and that something, look, Barack Obama got a Nobel Peace Prize before he even got in office. They gave it to Yasser Arafat. I mean,
That's
this the
ridiculous.
Abraham Accords is stellar, groundbreaking paradigm shift. It's so important. And I know that Nobel doesn't like Trump, and they're very left-leaning organization, but I think Trump could bring credibility to them if they were actually to do the right thing. When they nominations, he didn't get it. The nominations opened up again last year at the end of the year, and I nominated again President Trump. I nominated President or Prime Minister Netanyahu, and former Defense Minister Gallant as well. I added him to my nominations for the brilliance and masterminding so much of the pager, the pager incident, the pager incidents and things that they put together. That was just an amazing operation. And some other the things that he did to set up the situation that we're in now, where Israel was able to defend itself, to weaken the enemy in Iran, and then President Trump was able to come in and obliterate the nuclear sites. I mean, it was an amazing coordinated effort, and Of course, that all happened after I nominated, but I encourage everyone who's eligible to nominate them. I think he deserves it. I know people have Trump derangement syndrome, they don't like him. But look at this. He is the peace president right now.
While you were in Israel, I don't know if you saw this, but Hillary Clinton actually said that if President Trump can bring Putin and Zelensky together, she said, I would vote, I would nominate him for the Nobel Peace Prize. So,
Yeah, I've seen that clip a number of times. I think that because she thinks there's no chance that that could happen. But look what Trump did, just yesterday, an incredible summit at the White House with members of, the European Union, people around the table. It was, I mean, I've never seen anything like it. It's incredible. And the Democrats are poo-pooing it, but I think it is really amazing. And I'll tell you, every leader I talk to, uh, ambassador, they all want that meeting with President Trump. Business leaders, these Arab sheikhs want that moment with President Trump. The Druze leaders want that moment in the Oval Office with President Trump to broker peace. They know he has got an incredibly charismatic world presence, and he's a strong person, and he's a strong uniter. And I think they think he's the one guy who can do it. He's such a unique figure in our history right now.
wow. Before,
Imagine that Arab sheikhs within Hebron and the Judean Samaria region want to go to the Oval Office and broker a peace deal, get rid of the Palestinian Authority with President Trump.
that's incredible. Before we close, I have
Yeah,
one last quick question. I could talk to you for hours. You have so much to share, and
thank
hopefully you
you.
will come back again
Yeah,
and
definitely.
continue. Um, Redistricting. Do you think that the Democrats will try to redraw the districts to their advantage this time again?
In New York,
Yes, in New York.
I think they're going to have a problem doing that. They already did their uh, attempt last in 2024, and constitutionally, they're going to have a real problem. I want to just say something that your audience needs to know on Texas. A lot of Texas Republicans are complaining. So I have an R plus 13. It's probably the most, an enrollment, the most Republican district in the state of New York under the extreme gerrymander of the Democrats. Okay, even though the independent commission did it, it's still a very extreme gerrymander. The Texas Republicans are going to, many of them go from R plus 30s and 40s to R plus 13s and 15s and 20s, which would be the most Republican district in most states, like New York. So they're realigning really away from these, overwhelming Republican districts and making them more even, which actually is required by their constitution. They're also giving more opportunities for their largest minority group, with the Hispanic voters, to have more of their own districts, and many of them want to vote Republican. So when the Democrats are saying we're going to fight fire with fire, they already did it in New York, and Gavin Newsom is not understanding the reality of what's going on in Texas. California is already extremely gerrymandered. Texas is not.
Wow. Okay, well, let's see what happens. I hope they aren't going to redraw. I hope it's going to stay the way it is. But thank you so much,
Thank
Congresswoman.
you so much, Trudy. It's always great. And thank you for what you do. I know this is a labor of love for you, and getting the message out. And, the truth is everything. I used to have my own show called The Hard Truth, but this is where we are. This is where I am in my life. I mean, there's nothing I want to see more than the truth. And I'll tell you, there was nothing more heartwarming than to see these leaders and these people in it who've been through it all saying, we need change. We need something new. And they were looking to us for leadership. And that means a lot. And I think we're on the right path.
That is really, really incredible. And it's so great to get that word out and for other people to hear that. Um, Thank you so much, actually,
Thank you.
for everything that you do. Um, you know, you work 24/7 basically for us, for the country, and for all of us. So thank you so much. We are grateful for your friendship. We're
Thank you
grateful.
so much. Well, thank you to you as well. Keep up. I'm happy to come on. I mean, as we go through the process with where we may go with this idea, we'll keep you informed. I mean, we really could have some groundbreaking work here, and we're going to get this to President Trump as soon as he's got some time. I mean, of course, he doesn't sleep, but
Okay, we're going to take you up on that. We are absolutely
yes,
going to take
definitely.
you up on that.
Okay.
It's been an honor to hear your insights and
Yeah.
your perspectives.
Thank you so much. Sorry I've got this terrible cold, but it's travel, you know.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing all of your perspectives with us. To our listeners, thank you for joining us. This has been Nothing But the Truth with Trudy Stern. You can catch us every Thursday night at 9:30 p.m. on the radio. And if you missed any part of this show or want to listen to any of our past episodes, you can find Nothing But the Truth wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, stay strong, stay informed, and keep seeking nothing but the truth.